Hello, English class. This is Allison. Okay, so here is my part of the video. My section for the lottery by Shirley Jackson is Characterization. So, basically, the way I see it, this story is about conformity. That's one of the themes, at least. So, a lot of the characters are not really characters. They don't really have personalities. Even though Shirley Jackson, she kind of, I feel like this is a very ironic short story, and one of the ironic things she does is that she pretends like everyone's going to have a purpose. She pretends like this is this vibrant community where everybody knows everybody's name, because she starts off the story naming all these people, like there's Bobby Martin, Mr. Graves, and the De La Croix family, and all these people, she names them all. But they don't really mean anything. They're just these empty names for all these people that are basically the same, that are all very, I just call them villagers. They're kind of just like the same amorphous group, which if you know the end of the lottery, which everybody probably does, they literally are like a mob. So all these people are just part of the mob. So basically, oh yeah, and this quote right here, I made it a little bit different than the rest because I think this is important. The final message tells the reader how dangerous tradition and conformity can be when they supersede human rights. So I don't think the story is saying that tradition or being old-fashioned or anything like that is bad for its own sake. It's not just bad for no reason. It's bad when it causes people to do horrible stuff. And it's funny because I always thought this story was written in the 60s or maybe the early 70s or something, where, around the Cultural Revolution time. But actually, it was written in 48, so a little bit after World War II, so there's some context for you. But anyway, okay, so basically, I believe there to be 5 characters. Let me scroll down. I only have 4 pictures. That's the template gave me room for 4, but I took out Mr. Hutchinson. I think that goes along with his personality, because I believe Mr. Hutchinson wouldn't mind being left out because he really just wants to fit in, But anyways, okay, over here you have Mr. and Mrs. Adams, Old Man Warner, Mr. Summers, he's the guy that runs the lottery, and Mrs. Hutchinson, she's basically the main character. So, let me go into each one. Like the project said, I'm going to do them in order of least important to most important, so you're kind of ramping up with starting with the least interesting and ending on the most interesting. So Mr. and Mrs. Adams. Mr. and Mrs. Adams are basically just villagers, but they have one important distinction where they're talking to Old Man Warner. Old Man Warner is the town elder. He's the oldest person. He's 77. And okay, spoiler, I think everybody knows this story, but spoiler alert if you don't know it. The lottery is basically every year. And they don't say whether it's every year, they make it sound like it's every year, around, it's a start of growing season or whatever, because this seems to be a, agricultural society, because they're talking about growing corn, and everyone seems very, I don't know how to put, they're very rustic, So, anyways, have you ever seen that movie Wicker Man? It's the same as that, where they believe human sacrifice is gonna lead to them having a good harvest, and if they don't do it, they're not gonna have a good harvest. So Mr. and Mrs. Adams, they have this one scene where basically they're talking to Old Man Warner, and they're saying oh, I heard that other villages, they're not doing the lottery anymore. They're thinking about shutting it down, and stuff. And that's just kind of gives you it's just a little bit of pushback against the society, where it's hey, maybe we don't have to do that, which is obviously if you want to make a change in society, that's the first thing you have to do, is at least talk about it, talk about the possibility that things don't have to be this way. Whatever suffering is going on in your society, it doesn't have to be this way. We can actually move on, and things will still be all right once we move on, But yeah, that's their contribution. And at the end, they're just part of the mob, you know. But when they do the lottery and everyone pulls out their little piece of paper, they're first because it's in alphabetical order. So I think maybe that might have something to do with it. But anyway, Old Man Warner, like I said, he's a town elder. He's very against like changing anything, which is funny in a way. I don't know. I think he has arrogance because he feels like he will never be the victim, you know? And even though he totally could, like, all these people are running the risk. They don't say in the story, they don't give any indication that things are rigged or anything. So in concept, everybody has the same risk. So basically, there's this box and there's a bunch of papers in it, and there's one black spot. And if you get the black spot, your whole family, your nuclear family, and like all of them are put up on the block, and then you get like a second round, and then whoever gets the black spot out of your nuclear family, that's the person that's going to be sacrificed. So anyway, he just seems to have this arrogance where he's like, I survived this 77 times. Like, I don't, like, this is never going to get me. That kind of reminds me of, like, some upper class people in society where they're kind of oblivious to other people's struggles. It's just like, well, if you're poor, just get a job or something, you know what I mean? Like, not understanding the complexity of people's issues, you know, and stuff in society because they're like, well, I'm fine, so everybody else should be fine, you know? And he also doesn't want anything to change. He had, like, when he's talking to Mr. Adams, he has this line that I quoted right here, where he's basically like, oh, if we take away the lottery, the next thing you know, like, we're going to be living in caves, and we're going to be eating, like, grass and stuff. And, like, you know, and then he says, like, nothing's ever good enough for, like, talking about the people who want to change things. He's like, nothing's ever good enough for them. Like, that they'll always want more change. I found that specific line very interesting. So, yeah. And let's see, Mr. Summers. Okay, Mr. Summers, he is like the MC. He's running everything. They say that he's like this community, like he's this guy who's very active in the community. He runs like all the like school dances for the teenagers. He runs Halloween parties. He runs like, he also is the manager of like the coal industry of the town and stuff. He's this very active man that likes to be involved with everything. And they say that everyone feels bad for him because he has no kids and his wife is like mean to him or whatever. But he seems happy. He seems like he just really wants to be involved in everything. And it's funny because, speaking of changing things, there's this whole big part, like, this is a really short story. It's only, like, 6 pages or something. And there's this whole part in the beginning where the narrator of the story, this omniscient voice, is telling us how, like, oh, Mr. Summers, he succeeded in getting all these small things changed about the lottery. Like, they got a new box, and they used to have pieces of wood for the lottery, but now they use paper because he's like, well, the village is big now. There's like 300 people, and there used to only be like a few or whatever. And then like there also used to be like the ritual used to be bigger. When people came up, everyone used to salute, and they used to have some hymns or something they used to sing at the start, and they used to just all this extra stuff that they don't do anymore because it's been like lost to time and stuff. So all that stuff can be changed, right? Even though they say that Mr. Summers, he still wants more change. He wants a new box. And everyone's like, no, the old box, it's like, you know, it's what we've always had, you know, and stuff. So, yeah, so he gets these little changes done, but obviously all that is just details. Like, the main point is you're still stoning people to death. Like, you're stoning people to death every year. And it can even be, like, kids. Like, little children. They have this one kid who's one of Mrs. Hutchinson's kids. And they make it sound like he's maybe, like, 4 years old or something. Like, he's so little, he doesn't even know how to just grab one paper. And he's up on the block with his whole family, okay? So they can even kill kids, okay? So, anyway, whatever. So, that's the problem. And, And yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. It's just irony. Like I said, this is a very ironic story that he can change these small things, but the big main thing, it's like, no, he's still on board with it, and he enjoys it. Like, he enjoys feeling important in the community, which I understand. Like, everybody wants to feel important in their community and have an important social role. Like, I totally get that, but it's just funny how it's like, you're literally, like, killing people, you know? But anyway, okay, Mr. Hutchinson is next. Mr. Hutchinson, he's the husband, obviously, of Mrs. Hutchinson. There's not a lot to him, but Mrs. Hutchinson, she's very boisterous. The second she shows up, she's like yelling. She's like, yeah, get up there, Bill, and blah, blah, talking to everybody. She seems like kind of loudmouth a little bit, like one of those like sports moms, maybe. You know what I'm talking about? Like type person who would be at like a sports bar or whatever. But anyways, so he just seems real quiet. He just wants to go through this thing and he wants to be a model citizen, it seems like. He just wants to be quiet and not rock the boat at all. And when he gets the black spot, he's just like, all right, it's me, you know? And then Mrs. Hutchinson, she starts yelling and stuff, and he's just like, shut up. Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, you know what I mean? He just wants things to be the way they are. And he's like, even if I get stoned to death, it's like, whatever. Like, I just want to be in this community and I just want to be a normal guy, you know? Then, yeah, you got Mrs. Hutchinson, whose name is Tessie. So, she's a main character. You kind of seeing things, I don't know actually if you're seeing things through her eyes, but like the omniscient, you know, it's like an omniscient third person point of view. And the camera's kind of on her, you know, if it was a movie. So, like I said, I already kind of said, because I feel like you can't, like Mr. Hutchinson, he's only significant in his relationship to Mrs. Hutchinson, right? So she, like I said, she winds up being the one who gets sacrificed in the end. And like I said, even though I don't feel like the lottery was rigged, it doesn't say that, and there's no evidence in the story that it was rigged. It seems like it is a legit lottery, but it's just kind of like, of course it had to be her, you know, because she's late. She's the only one who's late. She's kind of speaking up, you know. She seems like everybody's friendly with her. It's not like when she shows up late, they're not like, oh, that Tessie, like, gosh, she's such a screw up, you know. Like, they're not really saying that, but, like, she just is standing out, you know, and it seems like you can't really stand out in this community, you know. And then at the end, when she sees that her husband got the black spot, she's just like, wait, this isn't fair. Like, you didn't give him enough time. She starts, like, you know, all the grief, the stages of grief or whatever. She's, like, bargaining. She's, like, getting mad. She's like, no, like, we have to redo this. And everybody's like, fair is fair, you know. And then they do it over again. You know, there's a second round, like I said, for the nuclear family. And she's the one who gets the black spot. And to me, it's just kind of like, of course, you know. Of course it had to be her, you know. Like, but anyways, and, oh yeah, this right here, this quote, I thought this was kind of like, foreshadowing, where she's late, and she comes up to the very front of the crowd, because she wants to stand next to her husband, and Mr. Summers, who's like, very, you know, jovial and talking to everybody, he says, I thought we were gonna have to get on without you, which is really creepy, because it's like, well, by the end of the day, they will be going on without her, you know what I mean? She'll be dead. And her family will have to go on without her, and the whole community, you know? So, yeah. And then, as they're, like, throwing rocks at her and stuff, the whole time, she's just yelling, like, this isn't right, we should stop this, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And her very last words are, it isn't right. You know, that's what the story leaves off on. Kind of reminds me of that movie, Soylent Green, where at the end, he's like, Soylent Green is people, you know. Spoiler if you haven't seen that, but anyways, so, yeah, this is my whole project. Yeah, next is symbolism. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and yeah, bye everybody.